Welcome back to the deep dive. So we have an incredible stack of sources you've shared with us today and a really focused mission. I mean, for the past decade, it feels like the whole conversation around AI and automation has been, well, speculative, right?
Very much so. A lot of science fiction, a lot of what-if scenarios.
Exactly. But what these sources are making crystal clear, and this is really the frame for our whole deep dive, is that AI is not a future trend anymore. It has fully transitioned. It's a core operational strategy in the U.S. right now.
That's the key. Right now.
It's actively reshaping big tech, Wall Street, retail, you name it. We are so far past talking about pilot programs. This is wholesale change.
That's absolutely the shift we need to capture. I mean, the mission today is to move past that old question of, will robots take our jobs?
Right.
It's more concrete now. We're looking at the strategic, the measurable impacts that are already happening in major U.S. companies, how jobs are being redefined, how the very structure of employment is shifting. It's a snapshot of a workforce in real-time transformation.
And right out of the gate, the sources hit us with this central paradox, a term we hear all the time but really need to unpack.
Jobless growth.
Jobless growth. And it's not just a side effect, is it? The sources seem to suggest it's the goal, the ultimate efficiency metric.
It's the holy grail of modern corporate optimization, absolutely. And understanding how it works is crucial.
So what is it exactly?
Jobless growth is this phenomenon where a company is successfully, increasing its revenue, it's developing new products faster than ever, expanding its market.
All the good stuff.
All the metrics are pointing up, but, and this is the key, they're doing it all while keeping their employee numbers flat or even actively cutting them. The FTE count, the full-time equivalent, is going down.
So you have companies that are, by any objective measure, growing and succeeding, but that success is now completely decoupled from hiring more people.
Decoupled is the perfect word. It's a fundamental AI-enabled decoupling. Historically, if a bank's transaction volume went up 15%, they'd eventually need more admin staff, more compliance officers.
More bodies and seats.
Exactly. But today, that 15% growth is just. It's absorbed by automation systems, by machine learning models. So you get the growth, but you don't get the corresponding line item on the payroll ledger.
Okay, let's unpack that. Strategic integration. Because that's the engine here, right? It's what's driving this jobless growth.
It is.
For years, it was all about these small AI pilots, little experiments in one department. But what the sources are telling us, especially in the U.S., is that the experimental phase, it's over.
It's completely over. We're seeing AI cemented as a core factor in business operations now. It's moved from being a niche tech thing to an essential capital expense.
Like cloud computing was a decade ago.
Precisely. It's not the IT director tinkering around anymore. This is a CEO-level, multi-year decision to build automation into the very scaffolding of the business.
And the speed of this shift seems unique to the U.S. corporate environment. Why is it happening so fast and with such commitment right now?
Well, the sources point to two big connected forces that are really pushing this. First, you've got this huge shift in what we're calling corporate integration among the big players, the major banks, the huge retailers, the logistics giants.
The household names.
Right. They've gone from just trying AI to fully integrating it into their core processes. And this runs deep. It's not just a chatbot. This is AI handling algorithmic compliance checks in banking, flagging fraud in real time.
Stuff that's invisible to the customer but critical to the business.
Absolutely. It's automated inventory management. It's dynamic pricing in retail. This moves AI from being a novelty to being a structural component that cuts operational risk.
And that's a massive driver in finance, right?
Yeah.
Efficiency and risk reduction.
It's about achieving ruthless efficiency. And critically, it's about converting what used to be a fixed labor cost, a person's salary, into a capital cost, like software.
Which you can depreciate.
Exactly. Labor costs in the U.S. are high and predictable. Automation just blows up that line item on the balance sheet in a good way from a shareholder's perspective.
That makes sense. The savings are immediate. But what about the initial cost? I mean, isn't implementing all this AI incredibly expensive? Does that not offset the savings, at least at first?
That's a great point, and it's something the sources address. The answer is yes, it was expensive. But for the biggest players, that initial hurdle, the multi-million-dollar setup, has largely been cleared.
So they're past the setup phase.
They are now in the optimization phase. And this is where the ROI just multiplies. They've built the infrastructure. So adding a new automated function isn't like building a new factory. It's more like installing new software. The scalability is what really accelerates the jobless growth.
That's a huge distinction. That's structural maturity. But okay, what's the second force? You said there were two.
The second one is just as powerful, and it's about the new guys on the block. Startup behavior.
Yeah. Okay.
Startups today are built on a totally different model than they were even 5 years ago. They are using AI from day one to keep personnel costs at an absolute minimum.
So they're lean from the start.
Shockingly lean. I mean, think about the old model. A software startup needed a bunch of junior developers for routine coding, a tech writer for documentation, a QA person for testing, an admin.
The whole team just to get off the ground.
And the sources showed that whole hierarchy is just collapsing.
How so?
Well, now, a single senior developer, but one who is heavily augmented with AI tools, things that help them write code, that automate the documentation, that one person can effectively do the work of 5 or 6 people from the old model.
They're hyper-leveraged.
Exactly. The AI handles the boilerplate stuff, the repetitive tests. So this just fundamentally changes the whole game for venture capital, too. You can get to market and create huge value before you even think about hiring an HR team.
The timeline just shrinks dramatically.
Which brings us right back to that paradox, jobless growth. Because if the big companies are cutting headcount through integration and the new startups are minimizing headcount from day one,
The whole system is wired to grow without creating a lot of jobs.
the entire system generates economic growth that is fundamentally, structurally decoupled from mass job creation. The work is still there, but the tasks are absorbed by the system and the remaining humans are just supervising it all. It's a zero-sum game for human headcount.
Okay, so now that we've got the strategic backdrop, let's drill down. This is where it gets real for a lot of people. The sources identify these specific sectors that are being hit the hardest and the fastest.
Yeah, and we're not talking about small pockets here. These are millions of U.S. jobs under immediate and very real pressure.
So we've boiled it down to 5 main pressure points, right, where AI integration is causing the most immediate change.
That's right. 5 key areas. Hashtag tag 2.1 office and administrative jobs, the earliest impact. And let's start with the first place this wave really hit, office and administrative work.
The low-hanging fruit.
Exactly. The sources all agree on this. This group, millions of workers, was affected earliest because the tasks are so routine, they're structured, they're rules-based.
We're talking about roles like data entry clerks, admin assistants, office support, payroll clerks.
All of it. Anything built around repetitive, structured data handling.
Can we get specific on the tech here?
Yeah.
What's actually doing the replacement? It's not just a general AI, is it?
No, the primary technology here is something called RPA. Robotic process automation.
RPA.
Right. And for anyone listening who isn't deep in enterprise software, think of RPA as a digital worker. It's a piece of software you program to do routine tasks just like a person would.
So it logs into systems?
It logs in, it opens emails, it pulls data from a form, does a calculation, and then moves that data into another system. It perfectly targets things like invoice matching and accounting or managing basic employee records.
Things that are incredibly tedious for a person.
And where people make mistakes. RPA eliminates human error and it runs 204/7. So any process that you can draw out on a rigid flow chart is a target. The need for a human to do that task just plummets.
So what's left for the human admin staff?
They become exception handlers. They deal with the complex cases, the ambiguous problems, the interpersonal coordination, basically anything that requires judgment and negotiation, things RPA can't do.
But the implications for the career pipeline are huge. I mean, these entry-level admin jobs were the first rung on the ladder for so many people.
It's the silent removal of the entry ramp. If you can't get a job doing basic data entry to learn how a company works, where do you start? The bar to get in is just instantly so much higher. Hashtag tag 2.2 customer service and call centers, cost-cutting mandate.
Okay, so moving from the back office to the front lines, the next pressure point is customer service and call centers.
Yeah.
This is one a lot of us have probably felt directly.
For sure. And the driver here, as the sources highlight, is almost purely economic. The cost of running a large human-staffed call center in the U.S. is just massive.
It's a pure cost-cutting mandate.
It is. Salaries, benefits, training, the building itself. It's huge overhead. AI offers a way to drop the cost per interaction from, several dollars down to just pennies. The business case is undeniable.
So what's the reality on the ground now? Are the humans all gone?
Not all gone, no, but their role has completely changed. The reality is that advanced chatbots and voice AI now handle the vast majority of the simple, repetitive questions.
The where is my order, or how do I reset my password kind of stuff.
Exactly. The Tier 1 support. The AI is now good enough at natural language processing to handle those with a really high satisfaction rate.
Which changes the human's job entirely.
It creates what you could call an escalation pyramid. The human agents are now pushed to the very top of that pyramid. They only handle the big stuff, major complaints, really complex situations that need empathy, or dealing with high-value customers where you absolutely need to preserve the relationship.
So if you get to a human agent today, your problem is already, by definition, an escalation. Their job is inherently more stressful.
It is. They're not reading from scripts anymore. They're troubleshooting complex problems. And the effect, which the sources document, is severe. Major U.S. companies have cut thousands of these jobs and have basically frozen new hiring,
It's a really abrupt workforce reduction.
driven purely by the ROI of the automated systems. So you have fewer jobs, and the jobs that are left are just harder. They require much higher emotional intelligence. Hashtag 2.3 retail and logistics impact on labor-heavy sectors.
Okay, let's move into the physical world. Retail and logistics. This has to be one of the largest employers of general labor in the U.S., right?
Absolutely. Millions of people in warehouses, stocking shelves, running checkouts.
And the transformation here is, you can literally see it.
You can. The automation hotspots are all over the supply chain. In warehouses, you've got these automated guided vehicles, robotic picking arms. They're doing the physical moving and lifting that people used to do.
And then you have the automated sorting systems, the AI-driven demand forecasting that tells them exactly what to stock and where.
Right. It all drastically reduces the need for human stock management. And then, of course, the most visible part for all of us, self-checkout.
Which directly hits the cashier role, a huge source of employment for decades.
So the first consequence is obvious. A reduction in the need for warehouse staff and cashiers. But the sources point to a second, maybe more intense consequence.
Okay.
Increased productivity pressure on the humans who are left.
Hold on, let's pause on that. How does adding robots increase the pressure on people?
Because the human becomes the weak link. Or, to put it another way, the exception handler in a system that is otherwise running at machine speed. If you're a warehouse worker next to a robot, your performance targets just skyrocket.
Because the pace is set by the machine.
Exactly. You're not just responsible for your own output anymore. You're responsible for troubleshooting the robot when it jams, for coordinating the flow, for keeping up. It basically turns a general labor role into a hybrid tech/physical role that requires incredible speed and focus.
So AI doesn't just take the job, it completely changes the nature and the stress level of the jobs that remain.
It creates a split workforce. You have a small group of highly paid technicians who manage the robots, and then you have the remaining physical laborers working at peak machine-driven efficiency. Hashtag 2.4 content creation and media, the lower-level creative crunch.
All right, let's shift gears completely to a field a lot of people thought was safe. Creative work, content creation, media. The sources are highlighting what they call a lower-level creative crunch.
Yeah, and this one is subtle. It's less about mass layoffs and more about a radical compression of roles.
So which roles are we talking about here?
It's directly targeting the entry-level content jobs. The content writer who just churns out volume, the SEO writer, the social media assistant scheduling posts, the junior marketing copywriter.
The foundational stuff. So what can AI do now that makes those jobs so vulnerable?
Well, the generative AI models have just gotten so good they can write functional, grammatically correct, contextually appropriate content at an insane volume.
They can write articles, scripts.
Basic articles, scripts, they can analyze marketing data to find the best keywords, they can personalize a million different ad versions at a scale no human team could ever hope to match.
The quality might not be, Pulitzer level.
No, but for the huge amount of good enough content a modern marketing machine needs, it's overwhelmingly effective. It fills that middle ground.
And this leads to that structural change you mentioned. Role compression. Not layoffs, but merging roles. What does that actually look like?
It's a strategic thinning of the team. So imagine a digital marketing team. Before, you might have a content strategist, an SEO specialist, and a junior copywriter. 3 people.
Okay, and now?
Now you just have one person, a digital content director or something similar. And that one person uses AI tools to generate the bulk copy and the SEO tags.
So they're effectively replacing the output of the other 2 roles with software.
Exactly. The human's time is now spent only on high-level strategy, editing, enforcing the brand voice, and critically prompt engineering. They're directing the AI.
The human becomes an editor and a prompt master. But the really tough part of that is the entry door for a new writer or marketer. It just slams shut. You can't learn the ropes doing basic copy anymore. Hashtag 2.5 technology and programming. Junior level squeeze. Okay, finally, let's look at the industry that's building all this stuff. Technology and programming. Even here, the sources say there's significant pressure.
There is, but with a really important clarification, AI is not replacing all programmers.
But it's replacing specific functions.
Right. And the impact is felt most acutely at the bottom of the ladder. Junior developers, manual quality assurance engineers, people doing repetitive coding tasks.
Because the AI coding assistants, like GitHub Copilot and others, are really good at exactly that stuff. Generating boilerplate code, fixing simple bugs, writing tests automatically.
They're phenomenal at it. So the reality in the U.S. tech scene is that the demand for new junior talent is just falling off a cliff.
Why is that?
Well, if you're a CTO, the calculation has changed. Why hire 3 junior developers who need a ton of mentoring and ramp-up time when you can give one experienced senior developer an AI tool and they can produce the same amount of work or more? And often the code is cleaner.
So the senior developer's role is changing too. They're not just writing code all day.
They're pivoting. They're moving from being a coder to being more of an architect, a system designer, an AI director. They set the plan and the AI fills in a lot of the details.
It's a massive skill compression. The entry-level work is being automated away, which means if you want to get into the field, you have to arrive with a much higher level of skill than you used to.
Which is why we're seeing these startups building entire products with teams of less than 10 people. The leverage is just immense.
So we've looked at the roles themselves, but the sources point to something deeper, something more subtle, a shift in the psychological contract between employers and employees in the U.S.
The human cost of all this efficiency.
Yeah. And let's start with this concept of silent layoffs.
This is a crucial idea to understand because it's a management strategy that is basically enabled by AI, and it gets around all the normal metrics we use to track unemployment.
So what is a silent layoff? Can you break down the mechanism?
Sure. It's a calculated process with 3 parts. First, there's no public announcement, no press release, no big internal memo about downsizing.
It was quiet.
Very quiet. Second, the company puts a freeze on new hiring. When people leave, their positions are just not filled.
Attrition.
Right. But here's the third and most important part. The company dramatically increases the workload and the performance targets on the people who are left.
Ugh.
They keep piling it on until employees who can't cope with the volume or don't have the new AI skills required just voluntarily leave. It's managed self-attrition.
So you're basically pushed out, you're forced to quit. And the company avoids paying severance. They don't have a big layoff number to report.
And they save face. It's a low-risk way to trim headcount. And AI is the key that makes it possible, because the AI infrastructure picks up all the routine work that the departed employees used to do. The system doesn't collapse when 3 people quit. It just keeps running.
That sounds like a profoundly unsettling work environment. It's not about worrying your company will fail. It's worrying that your company will succeed spectacularly without you.
And that leads directly to the psychological and societal toll the sources talk about.
Widespread anxiety.
It's a constant low-level concern about job stability and just career longevity. The fear isn't that you're not doing a good job. The fear is that your good job can be automated or compressed into someone else's workload.
And that anxiety is fueled by this relentless pressure to constantly be learning new things.
It's a professional hamster wheel. You feel like you constantly have to be upskilling just to stay afloat. If a new AI tool automates 40% of your job, you have to immediately go learn a whole new skill like prompt engineering or data synthesis just to justify your salary.
If you don't keep up, you become a target for that silent layoff mechanism.
It's no longer about getting ahead. Professional development has become about basic professional survival.
And the sources say this hits certain groups harder than others, 2 in particular.
That's right. The first group is mid-career workers, people in their late 40s, 50s.
Why them specifically?
Because they often have deep expertise, but it's tied to old manual processes that are now obsolete. They also tend to be at the higher end of the salary scale, which makes them a target for cost cutting. And trying to retrain a 48-year-old into a brand new career while they have a mortgage and kids, it's a massive challenge.
And the second group is at the other end of the spectrum, recent graduates.
Right. This goes back to the pipeline problem we talked about. All those entry-level jobs, basic data input, junior copy editing, admin scheduling, they were the first to be automated away.
The first rung on ladder is gone.
It's just gone. So graduates are finding that companies don't want to hire people they have to teach. They want to hire people who already know how to manage the automated systems.
which creates this impossible paradox. You need experience managing AI to get a job, but you can't get that experience because the entry-level jobs where you'd learn it don't exist anymore.
The starting line for a career has effectively moved 5 years down the road.
So after all that,
Yeah.
what does it all mean? I think the biggest takeaway for me from this whole deep dive is that AI isn't just about the number of jobs, it's changing the very structure of work itself.
That is the pivot we have to emphasize. It's not just eliminating labor, it's altering the skill requirements. It's combining multiple old jobs into a single high-level hybrid position. The work isn't vanishing, it's just moving up the food chain.
So if the AI is handling the doing, the execution,
Yeah.
what's left for people? What is the new human role?
The sources point to 3 critical areas. These are the things that are still uniquely difficult for AI to do.
Okay.
First, there's supervision. Humans are needed to oversee the automated processes. And this isn't just passively watching a screen, it's actively looking for errors, for AI hallucinations, ensuring quality control.
So you go from being the person inputting the data to being the auditor of the algorithm's output.
Exactly. Your focus shifts from speed of execution to systemic accuracy. The second area is decision-making.
Right.
The AI can process all the data and tell you option A has a 78% chance of success. But a human is still needed to take that data and inject context, ethics, risk tolerance.
To make the final judgment call, the AI gives you the most efficient answer, but the human decides if it's the right answer.
Precisely. And the third area is strategic creativity. This is the really high-level thinking, coming up with a brand new market strategy, imagining a novel product, formulating goals that require intuition and lateral thinking.
The stuff AI still really struggles with. It can follow patterns, but it can't create a truly new one.
Not yet, anyway. So when you combine those 3, supervision, decision-making, and strategic creativity, that's the modern worker, someone who has to operate at a much higher cognitive level all the time.
And this reality, it kind of boils down into these common beliefs that are now floating around in business discussions. They're not just slogans, they're basically survival guides.
That's a great way to put it. The sources summarize them really well.
Okay, so the first one is, AI doesn't take the job, it takes the repetitive work, which is really a diagnostic tool for your own career, right?
It is. If you can describe your main tasks in a simple flowchart, you're at risk. The value is moving to the non-routine, the exception handling.
The second one, individuals skilled in using AI will hold a major advantage. So it's not enough to just use the output, you have to know how to direct the AI.
It's the new literacy. Knowing how to prompt it, how to fine-tune it, how to integrate it into your workflow, that's the force multiplier.
And a third, which sounds the most urgent, not lending AI is equivalent to falling behind.
Because the pace of change is so fast, just standing still means you're effectively moving backward. The market started for productivity is constantly rising.
It's a clear picture of a workforce that is becoming radically more efficient, but also radically more high pressure. Hashtag outro.
So to quickly recap everything we've pulled from these sources, AI is driving this phenomenon of jobless growth in the U.S. It's no longer speculation, it's a core corporate strategy.
And that's leading to this structural compression, this shrinking of big employment sectors like senior-level roles.
And that compression is showing up in some really painful, subtle ways. Through things like silent layoffs and this huge wave of anxiety hitting both mid-career workers and new graduates. But the key takeaway for you listening to this is that the future of work isn't really about eliminating people, it's about eliminating routine tasks. The human role is being pushed exclusively into these more abstract, high-value areas.
Supervision, high-stakes decision-making, and strategic creativity. The new professional currency is your ability to manage these complex systems and inject human judgment into all that machine efficiency.
And that leads to a final provocative thought for you to chew on, something that builds on all this. If AI systems are getting better and better at cognitive repetition, basic writing, coding, data analysis, and the human role is pushed up to supervision and decision-making,
Then creativity alone isn't enough.
it becomes the baseline. So the question is, what specific, uniquely human skill, something beyond just general creativity or logic, becomes the most valuable and scarce asset in this next decade of jobless growth? And maybe more importantly, how do you even train for that? How do you measure the skill that separates a pretty good supervisor from a truly insightful decision maker who can avert a crisis before it even happens?
Is it wisdom? Is it some kind of systemic foresight? That really is the puzzle
It's
here.
the ultimate economic puzzle.
Wow. A lot to think about there. Thank you for trusting us with your source material for this deep dive.
Until next time.